Hello and welcome back to the Cello Brain channel. Did you know that 1 in 3 Americans do not get enough sleep? That is 33% of people out there are not sleeping enough. Now, the interesting thing is, back in 1942, Americans had an average of 7.9 hours of sleep every night. That has actually decreased to only 6.7 hours per night, which means we're sleeping 13% less. One of the biggest reasons that people don't sleep enough is due to insomnia from stress, anxiety, and depression. In today's video, we will be going through some of the reasons you may be having a tough time sleeping, and we're going to troubleshoot what to do about it. Now, I know that you clicked on this video, you're listening to the podcast, if that's what you prefer doing. You clicked on it because you're feeling tired. Maybe you are even in one of the 4% of adults who unintentionally fall asleep during the day because you maybe struggle to sleep enough at night, and this is affecting driving. It is putting you at danger for accidents, and you are not feeling your best throughout the day. Now, I want you to know that there is 100% a way that you can have glorious sleep every single night. Now, the tips and tricks that we'll be talking about today, while they may not guarantee that you will have incredible sleep on every single night of the rest of your life, what I can guarantee is that you'll have better sleep on the majority of nights. And that way you can show up for your kids, your work, and your goals with more energy every single day. So let's dive in. First of all, I'd like to share with you a couple of fascinating facts about sleep that'll help you feel like you're not alone. Number 1, 95% of adults lose at least 1 hour of sleep due to pain in a given week. Maybe you're part of that 95%. 54% of adults say that stress and anxiety were the top reasons they had trouble falling asleep and staying asleep. Sunday was actually the night of the week when they had the most trouble falling asleep. And maybe this is you as well. You have the Monday scaries, as I like to call them. We are running around in our brains. That's a funny way of saying it. Our brains are running through all of the tasks that we need to do on Monday. And we have this sense of anxiety, like Sunday anxiety, that we're not prepared, we're not ready for the upcoming week, and maybe we're even dreading going to work the next day. That keeps us up, and we end up scrolling on social media, which is our next fact. Adults in the US spend on average 3 hours and 30 minutes on social media before bed every night. YouTube is one of the most popular social media platforms that people use before bed. So if you're watching this video on YouTube right now and you're supposed to be sleeping, finish the video and then go to bed, because we're going to talk about some of the tips and tricks you can use to fall asleep faster. So they reported that the social media use was one of the biggest factors holding them back from sleeping well, but they felt like they didn't really have the tools to change this deeply ingrained habit. That can really make you feel very stuck. It is April 4th as I record this video, and I'm on day 4 of a social media fast. I decided after listening to a Cal Newport episode on the Ine-Wilme podcast that I'm going to do 30 days of no social media. And I'm finding myself craving scrolling. I am going on my phone when I'm nursing my baby, and I used to scroll as I was nursing him. However, now I'm finding myself reading through my Bible app, or I am looking through my health statistics and seeing, oh, my heart rate is doing better this week, or how much did I sleep last night? So it's very interesting what's happening already. My brain is craving the scrolling. However, because I'm doing a 100% quit of it, I'm able to figure out new ways to spend that time better. So that brings us to the conclusion that we struggle with pain, stress, anxiety, so bad social media habits, and we do this before we sleep. These are habits that don't really serve us well to fall asleep quickly. And as a result, we then get into a cycle where we may take melatonin every night to fall asleep. We may take sleeping medication, and we may diagnose ourselves as someone who's just incapable of falling asleep really well. Now, I know that there are medical conditions that prevent you from falling asleep and staying asleep, which I completely understand. My goal for you in today's video is to give you some tools that are very tangible, that are very actionable, that you can go do without much. Like, you can do this tool, this specific thing that I'm going to talk about in just 15 minutes. And it's going to help you get to the point where you're no longer chugging Stanley Cup sizes of coffee all the way through the day and that affecting your sleep. So the very first thing that we're going to talk about is actually caffeine and the effect that it has on your sleep and how you can hack the caffeine window. This is the first hack that I have for you. So what I've recently started doing is I have an app that's called Rise. It tracks my melatonin windows. It tells me what's my ideal bedtime, what's my ideal wake up time. And one of the things that it does is it sends me texts about my caffeine intake. So the interesting thing about caffeine is it stays in your system for 10 hours before it fades and you can actually fall asleep. So for me, I like going to bed around 9 p.m. That means that at 11 a.m. and probably more like 10:30 a.m. most days, I have to be done with caffeine. Now, the other interesting thing that caffeine does is on the opposite spectrum. If you use caffeine to wake yourself up, you're actually delaying the natural fading of a chemical called adenosine. So adenosine is in your brain when you wake up. It's what makes you feel really groggy. And when you take caffeine immediately, it's actually an adenosine prohibitor. So what this ends up meaning for you is you're just pausing the adenosine, and then when the caffeine wears off 10 hours later, let's say you took it at 6 a.m., wears off at 2 p.m., you're feeling super tired. Then you take more caffeine, and then you end up staying up because that caffeine is still in your system 10 hours later at midnight. And then when you want to wake up the next morning, you are once again very groggy. You didn't have a good night's sleep because you had caffeine too late, and you get into this vicious cycle. So the very first thing that you can do to actually make your sleep better is delay your caffeine intake by 90 minutes to 2 hours after waking up. So let's say that you wake up at 6 a.m. and you need 8 hours of sleep for your optimal day. So you wake up at 6, your bedtime was at 10 p.m. That means that your caffeine window is going to be from 8 a.m., 2 hours after you wake up, till noon, 10 hours before you go to sleep. So you have a 4-hour window to have caffeine. Now, the crazy thing that I found with delaying my caffeine by 2 hours is I'm actually not craving it as much because I don't have that drop. My adenosine levels naturally go away, and in that time I may go do my workout, I maybe go for a walk, something that's a little more brainless, something that I can do when I'm feeling a little groggy. And then I sometimes even don't crave the caffeine for a whole day. I may go even a whole day without caffeine at times. Rarely happens because I quite love the flavor of coffee. We have an espresso machine, so rarely happens. But that part of it aside, I could go on and on about coffee. Anyways, all of that aside, creating a caffeine window for yourself, 10 hours before your bedtime, starting the window 2 hours after you wake up. That'll help a lot already. Okay, second hack is finding a way to let your brain experience sound waves that bring it to a state of relaxation. Did you know that when you hear sound tuned to 258 hertz, that means vibrations per second, you sleep deeper? You can actually experience this effect just 15 minutes before bed. It's true. It's actually found in a study done by Better Sleep that specific tones of sound called Solfeggio frequencies impacted sleep by relaxing the subconscious mind. Now, here is the most fascinating part. The cello, its standard frequency is 258 hertz. That means that every time you play the cello and you hear it live in your own room, you're going to relax. The fundamental frequency being at 258 hertz is relaxing to your brain automatically. Now, in addition to that, when you play the cello yourself, you physically feel these vibrations against your rib cage, and it can help you feel grounded to relax your day, relax your mind after a busy day. One student put it really well. She said, I love the cello, the physicality of it, the resonance against my chest and under my fingers, the miracle of the sounding of the harmonics, sympathetic vibrations giving me goosebumps. Isn't that just such a wonderful way of describing that feeling? She had discovered the energy-giving beauty of the sound of the cello. She received energy from the sound because of the music she was playing, and then she also used it as a way to disconnect and relax after a crazy day. And if there's one thing that I know about life, is it does not get less busy. It stays crazy busy, and we always want to keep creating. It's a good thing that your life is busy. See it as that you're growing into the person you're becoming. But you have to have a way to also relax so that you can be at your optimal state. And sleep is the best way that you can do that. Studies have shown that out of all of the wellness activities you can do, sleep, diet, exercise, water, supplements, all of the different things you can do, sleep is the number one that impacts everything. So with the cello, you can actually hack your sleep by experiencing those solfeggio frequencies. And that is one of the reasons I play. It's because of the sound. From a scientific level, the sound impacts your brain with those frequencies. The vibrations impact your heart rate, and you can actually calm down that way. You can combine breathing with cello playing, something I actually teach in Inner Voice Academy. But then on an emotional level, the music you play can calm you down by affecting the emotion centers in your brain. So the brain has two sides, as you probably know. The right side, which is more creative, and the left side, which is more analytical. Now, when you are encountering a really stressful thing in your life, your brain might be in the reactive, emotional right side. And while this is fantastic, like it's important to feel those emotions, you may have a hard time going to the analytical side and really feeling like you have a grasp on what's happening in your life. You want to be able to take a step back and see it from a higher perspective, from a point of view where you can see the big picture. When you learn the cello, the corpus callosum, which runs between the two sides of the brain, is strengthened because you're using both sides of the brain at the same time when you play. Now, what that means for you is you can actually go from the right side to the left side instantly. It's an effect that almost nothing else can create. Now, when you're feeling that high, intense emotion, you can take a step back because your brain has actually been trained to step back and work on the analytical and the emotional at the same time. Now, the creative side also works on problem solving. So a quick journaling session after playing the cello for a few minutes will give you that calmness, that you have control over the situation. And one other quick hack that I've learned is after playing the cello, my brain is so much more active. I actually go and then do journaling. And the question that I sometimes ask myself is, series of questions. I'll give you the set of them right now. Number one, what is my ideal outcome for this stressful situation? Number two, what is my next action? If I had nothing else to do, what would be my next action? Now, an example of this, let's say you are trying to sell your car and it needs some repairs before you can sell it. So you may put on your to-do list, sell the car, because you really want to achieve that outcome. But you can't actually do an action. This is, you can't actually complete a project, rather. You can't do a project. You can only do actions inside the project. Now, this covers a bit of the stress and anxiety part that you may be feeling when you're falling asleep. You're like, oh, I need to go sell the car. I need to sell the car. But what you really can do only is the actions to bring you towards that ideal outcome, right? So your next action, you might think, okay, it's to go get the car repaired, like get the oil changed. I don't know much about cars, so maybe this isn't a great example, but needless to say, maybe you think, okay, I need to get it to the repairman. But then you think, okay, but there's this person that Jill recommended to me the other day, and I need to get the phone number from her to call the shop and book an appointment. And then you realize, okay, well, I can't call the shop till I have the number. So your very next action towards that project is to call Jill or text Jill and get the phone number of the shop from them. And that's it. That's your only next action to sell your car, is to get the phone number. Once you've done that, then you can go and figure out, okay, what's my next action after that? And usually it's quite obvious. But going through the different steps and figuring out exactly what's your next action really, really helps with the stress and anxiety. I learned this from David Allen in his book, Getting Things Done. Highly, highly recommend that book if you are someone who struggles with time management, with task management and project management. He gives very clear step-by-steps on how to get to a point that he calls a mind like water, which brings us back to the whole conversation about relaxing your brain. When you know the exact next action for every one of your projects, you can relax. Your mind is calm like water. He calls this nirvana, a state of calmness. When you learn the cello, you actually learn problem-solving skills, which if you listen to the Creative Catalyst series that I did a few weeks ago, in March, you'll find that there's an episode called Developing, what did I call it? Outmatched problem-solving skills. So the part of the brain that is associated with problem-solving skills is developed, and that means that you have more analytical step-by-steps you can follow. And your creativity in problem solving is developed as well, so that when you are defining that ideal outcome for the problem, you're using the right side of the brain, and you know that you are truly examining it from all the perspectives. So those are a couple of ways that you can relax, that you can have better sleep, so that you can become part of the, I don't know exactly the percentage, but the percentage of people who actually do have deep restorative sleep. So here is your action step. Step one, I'd like you to figure out your caffeine window. Such an amazing way to start, and it's something simple that you can do. So I'll give you the formula again. No caffeine until 2 hours after waking up. No caffeine 10 hours before you go to bed. So figure out your caffeine window, stick with it for a week, see how it goes. Step number 2, book a discovery call with me to see if learning the cello could be a good fit for you, if this is the right time to learn the cello. This is a free call that I offer to everyone. It's a 20-minute call, and in this call, I'll ask you a series of questions to determine if Inner Voice Academy could be a good fit, if I'm a good fit for you as a teacher, and if the cello is a good fit for solving some of your problems, such as poor sleep, lack of energy, lack of focus, and your problem-solving skills. There's so much more that the cello encompasses beyond that, but we will determine this and create a customized plan for you in this call. So head to the show notes and go book that call. And I hope you have better sleep. Here's to sleeping better and feeling more energized. Until next time.